Okay, so the president just delivered the State of the Union address, and here are the main things I think you should take away from it. The state of our economy is strong. By any metric, the United States is doing incredibly well. We've added 12 million jobs, far and above what was lost during the pandemic. We have the lowest unemployment since 1969. The Democrats passed the CHIPS Act to bring manufacturing back to America, which has already brought billions of dollars in private investment to the U.S. We passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which lowered pharmaceutical costs for low-income Americans and seniors, and is the single biggest investment in the climate in our nation's history. The act will not only create good, high-paying jobs that don't require a college degree, but will use and respect existing infrastructure already set up for oil and gas to make sure we don't kill an industry we still need and respect as we make the transition to a cleaner, more sustainable future. Looking around the country, we're starting to see the success of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act with new bridges and roads and tunnels and internet coming to places it's never been before. We took care of our brave veterans who were injured in toxic burn pits, and we've come together to defend our allies in Europe as democracy stands against the threat of a rising autocracy. But we sit at an inflection point with a leader who believes in progress and possibility and that America's best days are ahead of it, but we have to make the right choices now. Joe Biden's bottom line for America is that he's got our back, that he is out here working to make sure our lives are better, from passing bills to stop us getting charged for rip-off junk fees to fighting for us to have affordable childcare and paid leave. I think we're so used to being cynical about government that it's hard to believe this guy's for real, that he really is fighting for things that will improve our lives, that he truly believes we can continue to invest in America without cutting Social Security or Medicare, that we can continue to reduce the deficit without cutting Social Security or Medicare, that we can have the things that we want and we need, the things that we deserve, if we have a government willing to fight for us and not just the donor class. In fact, Biden was quite clear that he believes that particular class should start to pay their fair share, and he passed a bill to fund the IRS to ensure that they would have to. The president's speech was about doing the right thing and finishing the job he'd begun. He was clear that his administration isn't backing down when it comes to leading the world in green jobs or climate initiatives. He's not backing down in his fight to codify abortion rights into law or to support and secure everyone's right to vote. Biden told us what had been accomplished, and then he passed the praise on to others, to Congress, to individuals who had helped, to the American people ourselves. You can't watch or listen to President Biden and not see a man still trying to lead by example, who believes, despite what he sees every day, that Democrats and Republicans can work together. Now, I don't think that's because he's clueless. I think that's because he's hopeful. Right off the top of the speech, he was all class, publicly congratulating Kevin McCarthy on his new job. But not so much of a sucker that he didn't say, "Mr. Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you." It's a wink and a nod to the extreme obstructionism that the modern-day Republican Party has become, but with a public call for the representatives to put the American people rather than themselves first. It's a combination of, I see you, but let's do this. He used that same energy when he called Republicans out for wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare. As if on cue, the Republicans went crazy with lots of hand flapping and mugging their outrage for the camera. Marjorie Taylor Greene screamed, "Liar, you lie!" And then Biden brought the receipts, and he turned the entire moment around. Okay, great. You don't want to cut Social Security and Medicare? Well, cool. Let's just all agree right now that those programs are safe and we won't put either of them on the chopping block. Let's clap for seniors. Just like the story he tells of America, Joe Biden is a resilient man, always moving forward, never giving up. He challenged the Republicans in real time by reminding them that he signed over 300 pieces of bipartisan legislation with the last Congress. Things like reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, reauthorizing the Electoral Reform Act, passing the Respect for Marriage Act so people can marry who they love. He used this speech to tell people what he stands for while continuing to encourage the opposition to rise to the occasion. He calls them my Republican friends. He speaks with class and humor to the better angels of the Republican Party and of Americans ourselves. He reminded us all that fighting for the sake of fighting gets us nowhere, and he held up the idea of our democracy as bruised, but still intact. And the Republicans took all of that and they spit in his face. They spit in the country's face. They screamed and they jeered through the speech. A party behaving mostly without manners or class. A party that refused to stand up for paying public school teachers, or public health policy, or raising the wage for some of our lowest paid workers. As AOC said after the speech, these are things that should be basic stuff for American leaders to clap for. Sky is blue kind of stuff. But standing against it, Republicans showed the country who they are. And at one point, when they refused to clap, after Biden said no billionaire should pay less in taxes than a school teacher, they showed us who they answer to. If that moment itself doesn't tell you all you need to know about the Republican Party, I don't know what does. Ultimately, it comes down to watching what people do, not what they say. Positive change is happening around the country because Joe Biden and the Democrats prioritize that change and the American people. None of this is a fluke. The manufacturing jobs, the unemployment numbers, the new industry coming back to America. This is all part of a deliberate plan, a plan that we can see is working. Biden and his team are launching a road trip right now to highlight all the good that's being done around the country, and he leaves after challenging members of the opposition to help him in helping us. Will they meet that challenge? Well, if Sarah Huckabee Sanders' response to the speech is any indication, then no, they will not. They plan to spend their time in power doing what they did during the speech, being disruptive, working for their donors, and focusing solely on culture wars, wokeism, Hunter Biden, and whatever else they can use to distract the American people from the success of their enemy. Not because it's the right thing to do, but because burn it all down is all they have left. It's a shame, but it's also politics. And the beauty of politics is that you get to vote against the people who don't do their jobs. Progress and possibility, America. A strong democracy is what makes it all possible.